Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 17th of November, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index, just really continuing to go higher here. We see here on the daily chart, we're just above the cloud, very strongly positive on the dollar, really holding this 100 level on the dollar index. So really just breaking this 2015 level, coming back to the high that we saw at the start of 2015 before we had that run. And that really does suggest another really big run in the dollar. We're seeing these targets being activated to the upside. And we have an upside target here of 104. That's another 4% on the medium term chart. And so the target that was given is already met. So flattened out a little bit, but we are just holding that level. So still bullish on the dollar. And if we look at that in terms of the euro, well, the euro, of course, is the inverted situation where that has been bearish versus the dollar. Seeing a little bit of a recovery this morning, but we're bearish below the cloud. Keep an eye on the 1 minute charts for short-term action in the price. And we take a look at the Japanese yen. We see here again strong dollar, just flattening out a little bit at the moment. And we do have a new downside target emerging, about 1.5–2%. But the interesting thing is that we are just holding that level. That's not activated yet. We'd need to fall back for that to be activated. So dollar yen is still bullish on the dollar. We look at sterling. Sterling just holding this 125 level below the cloud still, so that is bearish, and definitely in the medium and long-term charts that's bearish as well. But we are seeing here that we are just trying to recover through the cloud here. Again, keep an eye on the 1 minute chart. We have a downside target of 121.28. We do have a new upside target of 126.86, but that needs a move back above the sort of 125 level to activate that. So 125.40 would activate that target. If we look at the sterling euro chart, we see here again euro weakness just creeping in at the moment. So it's quite key. Sterling selling off a little bit, but we see here that the euro is just showing that signs of weakness versus sterling. If we look at the Swiss, sterling Swiss pretty flat, and if you look at the Australian dollar just as a proxy, quite a recovery here in sterling against the Aussie dollar. So that is, we're now in the sort of high 160s through on the clouds. That is bullish. So in this chart, we are seeing sterling strength versus the Australian dollar. If we take a look at the S&P 500 index, markets had quite a good strong session yesterday, but just still can't get above this 2180 level on the S&P. That's the level to break. Once we break that, the market should run a bit. We've lost the downside targets here now. We've got upside targets. 2222 is the target that we're seeing here. We get above 2200, and that would be very bullish for the market. So it looks like the S&P is about to run again. Bullish on the short term, bullish on the medium, and bullish on the long term. Nasdaq has had a tougher time since the US election, and we are seeing that's recovering now as well. Quite a strong session yesterday through on the cloud, so we're bullish in all time frames. We do have downside targets weighing here, but at the moment we're bullish because we're through on the cloud, so just keep an eye on the shorter term charts. Look at the futures this morning. Futures are up slightly, the S&P up very slightly, and the Nasdaq E-mini is also up slightly. So we're just seeing sentiment in the US increasing there. Quick look at European markets. FTSE is still bearish below the clouds, so not looking as good as the US market. We do seem to be finding some support here, but really we're just struggling at the moment. That stronger sterling just weighing a little bit on the FTSE 100. The smaller cap FTSE 250 mid cap index is actually just looking a little bit better through the cloud here, but we've got downside targets there as well. We take a look at the DAX. DAX is bullish above the cloud, except on the weekly. We're still not quite through there yet, but we do have this picture of the DAX just looking a little bit better than FTSE because we're above the cloud. We'll take a look at Tokyo. Tokyo just holding that short-term strength. And we take a look at some commodities now. Brent crude is back above the $45 level and looking a little bit stronger, but below on the daily chart and on the weekly. So at the moment we are just seeing some Brent just holding this level, but it is still at that time of year where Brent tends to fall a bit. So crude Crude oil just looking mixed at the moment. Bearish medium term, bullish short term at the moment, and much the same is true on WTI, US crude. So we're seeing that as well, just flattening and holding the price. Need to keep an eye on the shorter term charts. Natural gas recovered a bit yesterday. We're at 278, so that's relieving the downside pressure. New target of 291, so about 5% upside potential. We are bearish below the cloud, of course. We didn't quite make it through on the weekly either. So still got work to do, but at the moment we're favouring the upside in the short term because we're above the cloud and we've got that upside target. Just to look at some other markets, wheat still bearish on most fronts there, below the cloud. Coffee, which had an amazing run pre-election, is now still selling off below the cloud. And if we look at gold, gold just clawing back now, just wandering out through the cloud. We do have an upside target of 1253. That's a 2% upside. And we're testing the long-term support here in the cloud. But medium term, we're still a bit bearish. So mixed picture for gold, but it looks like it's probably going to have a better week ahead. Silver, very similar picture, of course. Taking a look at the 10-year government bond, yields at 2.28%. So above the cloud on all fronts here, making that big long transition. US interest rates set to climb, as we're seeing reported in the press. A quick look at some bellwethers. Apple on the tech side, we'll just look at some bellwethers. Apple still bearish below the cloud, downside targets and an upside target, quite a mixed picture, but still just holding on there. If you look at Google, much the same picture. A lot of tech still in the short term below the cloud. Amazon, yeah, very similar picture with all these charts, just below the clouds and waiting. Nvidia is one that's really bucking the trend, just an amazing looking chart. And then Facebook's also below the cloud and bearish. Downside targets here, this new downside target a little bit worrying. Just this holding this cloud position. If we don't get a recovery soon, that may be a trend change on Facebook, but the weekly cloud is still pretty bullish. And Microsoft making new highs on the very long-term chart, taking out the millennium high, and we're just seeing a little bit of bearishness there, but looking like it'll transition as well. So Nasdaq just looking a little bit weaker, but the S&P 500 looks like it will go through. The main thing is keep an eye on that dollar chart. That's really what's driving a lot at the moment. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.